I spent almost $800 on Etsy ads for my print-on-demand store. And today I'm revealing how much money that's made me, how many sales, views, and clicks I got, and talking about whether I think Etsy ads are worth it for print-on-demand. Obviously, I'm just one example. Your own results will vary depending on your products and how well you run the ads, etc. Right? But this video should be useful if you want to see what's possible and better understand what to expect if you are thinking about running paid ads for your Etsy store. Now, I've always had the opinion that if you've got extra money, then you might as well spend that to get traffic to your own website and email list instead of sending it to Etsy, which A, could suspend you at any time, and B, gets you free traffic and sales with SEO anyways. So prior to this sort of experiment, I almost exclusively relied on organic SEO when it comes to Etsy. You know, I was doing over 10K a month in Q4 on it. And as you can see, no traffic from ads at all. Even in my best month last year where I made over 21K revenue on this shop, I did not use Etsy ads for most of that except for when I started running them at the end of December, the results of which you'll see in this video. But that being said, Facebook and Google ads does take a while to set up. That was something that was not going to be feasible for me last year. So in the meantime, I started watching a lot of Etsy ads content on YouTube and I just decided to give it a try. I was also talking to a friend on Instagram who was running ads at the time and she showed me some of her results, which she's kindly let me share with you today. So thanks for that. Decent return though, over 200% ROAS, as you can see. And that also kind of convinced me to continue spending because I'd actually started running my own ads at the time. So it was just at the end of January and her return was obviously a lot better than mine initially. So these are my results at the time. Now, my profit margin is about 20 to 25%, you know, sometimes 30 if it's a big order, but usually around that range. So I need about a 4 to 5x return just to break even. But my hope was that any extra sales from running ads would boost organic traffic as well. So all the other listings in my shop would rank higher in Etsy search. And in turn boost my overall revenue, even if the direct sales from the ads didn't cover the cost. This is obviously pretty hard to measure and, you know, sales will go down naturally anyway after Q4. But timing is one of the things that I'll be talking about later, which I do think that there are better times of the year to run Etsy ads on. So in total, most of my spend was between December and February, except for in May when I'd accidentally turned on ads and I spent about $42. Basically, I just accidentally turned the switch on when I was uploading a listing. I think it's a pretty easy mistake to make, so I stopped them quickly when I realized. But yeah, that happened. It did get me one sale, which was not intentional. Other than that, my ad spend was concentrated within those 3 months, so I'll be focusing on those in this video. Now, just briefly, if you're completely new to how Etsy ads work, you can choose what listings out of your shop you want to advertise and how many. There's no limit. You know, you can choose all your listings or just a few. You can also choose the daily budget. So for example, $1, $10, $100. There sometimes might be an upper limit, but usually it's just whatever you're comfortable with. And then the listings that you choose to advertise are shown at the top of search for the keywords that you put in your title and tags. You compete with other advertisers. So if somebody has a higher budget, then they usually appear in front of you. But there's a pretty nuanced algorithm that determines who ranks where. The keywords that you rank for are generated automatically based on the words in your title and tags, and you cannot decide these. So you might show up for irrelevant keywords that you need to keep an eye on. I'll talk about this later as well, but I had to basically check every day and turn all the irrelevant keywords off. And you'll only charge money when a customer clicks on your advertised listing. Your cost per click depends on how good your listing is. A bunch of other factors, conversion rate, usually ranges from about 20 to 50 cents. That's the figure I've seen online, really. And when it came to spending, I tried to be systematic. So I did 10 days at a time for $5 per day, increased it by $5 per day every 10 days to see how spending more impacts my revenue. As you can see, that's the sort of pattern that I tried to follow here. So in my first month, from the end of December to January, so basically January, I spent $319.75, got 70.4k views, 962 clicks, 32 orders from ads, and made $686.80, which is a 2.15 ROAS. And as you can see, my views Overall views went up proportionally with spending. Now, when it came to orders, the general trend is that the more money I spend, the more orders I get, but it's not really that consistent. You can see here there are some days where I was spending $15, still getting 0 sales. For those days, I would go in and edit the listings and see if there were any irrelevant keywords, of which there were many, and turn them off, or just switch to a new listing if one was not doing so well. In February, I spent $449 at $20 and then $25 per day, being my maximum budget. So what happened here was that my budget stopped spending suddenly on the 15th of February. And that means that while I was still telling Etsy that my maximum budget was $25 a day, I just wasn't getting enough views and clicks to be spending that full amount. So I think about 3 of the 5 listings I was advertising were Valentine's Day themed items, so it's no coincidence there's this dip the day after Valentine's Day, even though, you wouldn't really expect to order things for Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day, but still, I don't think that's a coincidence. I turned off some of the listings that were not performing that well, so I went down from 5 to 3 listings that were doing better than the others, but that also contributed to my lack of clicks. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a reason to stop ads or that you can't turn other listings on, but I did turn them off at this point for several reasons. Now, firstly, my cost per click for this month was getting higher, not lower. It went from about 33 cents per click in January to 38 in February, which is not really a good sign. Again, ROAS is the only metric that actually matters in marketing, but cost per click can be an indicator of how useful ads are to you compared to other sellers. And during that time, despite spending that much on ads, they were still a very small proportion of my overall traffic compared to organic SEO, so about 10%. Now, in general, paid ads are a pretty expensive way to acquire a customer, and the way that you make money really is if you have good email marketing on the back end and you can actually retain the customers that you get. But Etsy's email marketing was not doing great for me. I know that you want a higher than 10% discount. That's most likely the reason they're not doing that well, but it's just not feasible because of all the fees on Etsy. Also, a lot of the products that had worked with ads were starting to dry out for me, and when I switched them out with different products, they just did not produce as good a result. Secondly, I was about to hire another virtual assistant at this point, and I wanted to use any leftover money for that instead. I also felt like I had seen a rough idea of what kind of returns I could expect for my listings, aka 200 to 250% ROAS, sort of in that area. So overall, during this period of time, I spent a total of $748. I got 176.5k views, 2,083 clicks, 72 orders, and I made $1,517.6. Giving me a ROAS of 203% and an average cost per click of 36 cents. So was it actually worth it? Well, a lot of people would say that I didn't spend enough, and there were definitely a lot of things that I could have done better, such as turning off the keywords, keeping a better eye on the products. But for the results that I did get, I'm going to say that no, for me, I don't think it was worth it, especially at the time that I was running them. This is not purely because the ROAS was not breaking even. I'd have to do very well to expect a 4 to 5x return, and realistically, I was not expecting that. But because in terms of opportunity cost, really, so if you look at the total breakdown of where my traffic came from in those 2 months of December to February, the proportional traffic from ads was so low that if I just spent $800 of paying somebody, my virtual assistant, to make me more designs or images for more listings, and then I just uploaded those to cover more keywords organically, I think that would have made even more money. On top of that, they just kept generating these irrelevant keywords that were spending my budget, so a lot of the money went towards that, and I had to keep on turning those off. That being said, January and February are the months of returns. They're not great months for e-commerce in general. I feel like the results would have been a lot more different if I'd spent some money on ads before Q4. So if I decide to do that, I will probably make another video this year sharing those updated results. Other than this shop, I also have a digital product store on Etsy, so if you want to see how much I made from that store, make sure you watch the video on screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.